Okay. Am I clear? Am I audible? Or is there a lot of background noise from my side? If you could just type in your answers. So I'm audible, I'm clear. Okay. All right. Thank you. Nityam beta, just have a look at the chat box once. Okay, good afternoon, students. So we have a speaker here, and I'm just going to request everybody to switch on their camera so that we can see you all. So Nityam, Harshal, Aditya, Raj, Akshat, Baba, can you please switch on your camera so that we can see you? Sorry, Kshitij, Gunj, Jayanto, Harshal, Aditya Makkar, Akshat, Tareen, Kshitij. All right. Chaitanya, whenever you're ready, we don't see you. If you're ready, can you please switch on your camera?
Am I visible?
Yes, Chaitanya, but
Hi.
yes, Chaitanya, you are visible. Okay. All right. So should we start our session? Okay. All right. Good afternoon, students. Thank you so much for joining us for the session today. So I'm just going to, before we start, we'll just have a quick, refreshing our norm kind of a thing. So the first thing is that our videos will be on at all times. And if you want to communicate, if you want to say something, you can give a reaction button, raise your hand, or you can type in the chat box and we'll unmute you and we'll give you a chance to speak. This is just so that, the session flows more smoothly, and we will have an interaction session towards the end, so you can write your questions down, and we will take them up after the session. But if it's something very urgent, something very immediate, or say it's a question that Chaitanya has asked and you want to respond to it, then I would just suggest if you could give us a reaction button or a message in the chat box. Okay, so welcome to today's session. And so, what we are starting from today is a small speaker series, which is going to have, one speaker every week. And the aim of the series is to inspire you to not just restrict yourself to, like your science, your maths, and your accounts. So, basically, it's, to go beyond academics and solve real world problems. So, just to inspire you, our first speaker of this session and our speaker for today is Chaitanya. His full name is Chaitanya Prabhu, and he's the founder of Mark Your Presence. And at a very young age, he was determined to work for the betterment of the society. And he wanted to have more educated voters in our democracy. Because of that, he started his initiative called Mark Your Presence. And he is not very older than you. He is just a fifth year law student, and he's studying in Mumbai University. And apart from his social and his academic, achievements, he's also a national athlete. His sport being the 400-meter race. So please welcome Chaitanya Prabhu. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spotlight your video, Chaitanya, so that everybody has their eyes on you. And so welcome, Chaitanya.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to talk to everybody in the morning.
Even we are very
Thank you
excited.
for the very good introduction, ma'am.
Most welcome. We are very excited to have you. We are very happy to have a chance to speak with you. So, Chaitanya, why don't you tell
Okay.
us something about yourself and then something about Mark Your Presence?
So, ma'am, essentially, Mark Your Presence is a non-profit, non-political organization, and we work with the support of the Election Commission bodies of Maharashtra and Delhi to essentially register and educate young voters. The idea is to have a democracy wherein everybody analyzes, interprets, and then votes in an election. So what started as a small act to help couple of people has become a movement now. And our aim essentially through Mark Your Presence is to make every campus, every institution in India a voter friendly campus. So voting, democracy, politics shouldn't be topics that are not spoken about on campus. They should be things that you know, just like your alphabets, so that you can elect the correct leaders and so that you don't have problems in the future. So the idea of why Market Presence was built is that if young people come together, we can create change. It doesn't matter what change or what we're exactly doing, but if we come together and decide that this is one thing that we need to do, we will be able to do it. So those were the pillars on which our organization was built. And since 2018, we've been registering and educating voters. Uh, yeah, that is the framework of the organization.
Okay, all right. So this is about Mark Your Presence. Why don't you tell us the story of Mark Your Presence? How did you, come about initiating it? Where did this idea come from? What was going on in your mind before? Why did you think there was a need for something like this?
Sure. So essentially, like any other young voter or a curious individual, uh, we have this time wherein we check our voter IDs right before the election. And I happen to have the old voter ID, which is basically for everybody that is not registered here or doesn't know. It is the same one that everybody has, from our grandfathers to our fathers to everybody. It is a laminated sheet, black and white laminated sheet, which is a small card, just like your Aadhaar card in black and white. And I found out that I had this voter ID, and there was this talk about a new voter ID coming into place because the elections were coming. So it got me thinking, how many of us are registered? How many of my friends are registered? So that act of probably that message coming across that elections are coming and new voter IDs are coming, it got me curious to try and find out if I could probably register my friends and extended family. So I started asking people from my school. So I started from my very own friends in school, and I essentially asked them if they had a voter ID, and people said no. And I was 20 at that time when the elections were happening in 2019, I mean 6 months before. So I was really curious on why my friends are not registered. I thought these are a couple of people. Then I extend the boundaries to my juniors, to my seniors. And I happen to have been educated in this college or school called Jamnabai Nursery, which is in Juhu in Mumbai, which happens to have 350 people in one batch. So I was lucky to be in a school where we have so many people and I could interact with so many people. So I interacted with people who are my juniors and seniors, and I found out not only my immediate circle, but my extended friends were also not registered. So I thought, how difficult is it? Because I remember when I was 18, the first thing I did was I got myself registered. I walked to the nearest office, I gave them my Aadhaar card, I gave them my other proofs, and I got my voter ID within a couple of months. So I then found out about the process, and I found out it's completely online, and it takes just 7.5 minutes to register to vote. That's how much time it technically takes. So I basically researched on the procedure. Everything is accessible on the internet. I found out some loopholes of how you could register to vote. Then I started telling my friends, since you don't have a voter's ID, why don't you register? Some people were kind enough to say, perfect, thank you. Can you please send me the messages and we'll do the needful. Some, of course, didn't. That's where we started doing the work. That's where we started spoon feeding the information. So then I customized a small WhatsApp message of 4 to 5 lines and I sent it to a couple of my friends and I said, this is the procedure. This is what you're supposed to do. And, this is the process. It's so easy. And when I did that small act of customizing a message and sending it to people, it embedded a value wherein they realized that, we could easily register. All it takes is a couple of minutes. And that's where our journey started. Initially, I registered them. We didn't leave it. As we know in India, if we do anything for anybody for free, not expecting anything for them, they will give you all the responsibilities, because we as Indians are very, very good in delegating responsibilities to everybody. And if it's done for free, then it is the best thing ever. So here I was, the only person doing everything for free, and I'm still doing it for free. So they were really happy that, okay, you're doing it, so okay, you take our details and get it done. On call with some people, actually getting their Aadhaar cards, doing it myself, started with friends, extended with people I don't know. I understood how word of mouth news actually spreads, wherein I had random people that I was registering. There was a day where I registered 70 to 80 people who I don't know. That's where I branded the process with, and I said it's a 7.5 minute process. Today, I can sit with anybody, and in 7 minutes, even if I don't know him, I can fill any of his details given to him and actually register him to vote. So I started doing it for people, so people were more accepting, and I reached my first count very, very early. As soon as I finished my first odd 500, I said that, okay, now I can probably scale this. So I started talking to more people. I started connecting with more people. And these are all friends, extended families. And as I said, word of mouth. So if I register X amount of people, they then said, okay, I have a friend who's done this. And it was just a young movement of one person, that was only me trying to register people. This then demanded for it to be an organization, because what was happening is we were registering quite a lot of people, and that I became we in the concept, because we were interacting with people that I didn't even know. So then people asked me that, is there any organization? What is the campaign called? What are you doing? So in fact, Mark Your Presence wasn't something that was formed with an idea like the other companies. You form an organization keeping an objective in mind. That was not how it functioned. I mean, the organization was a part of what help we did towards our society. And after I finished certain amount of registrations, I went to meet the chief electoral officer. I waited outside for quite some time. I didn't get the meeting in the initial beginning because I was just a young person trying to meet a higher official. After waiting for a while, I finally got a chance to meet him. I pitched him the idea. I told him, this is what I'm doing. These are the amount of people that I've registered. And I intend to scale this because elections are coming. This was exactly 5 months, 4 months before the election. So it is the time wherein the politics and the news media is going to hit on everything. But
The
there is this space which
2019
is there.
election.
People don't really know.
These are the
This was, yeah,
2019 elections.
2019 election, which was the Lok Sabha election. I'll come to the breakup of the election in the second half. But essentially, this was the election where we voted for our MP. So it was the most important election. So as soon as he heard my idea and he heard my pitch, he said, okay, now you have our support. So the electoral commissioner was Mr. Ashwini Kumar, said that you have all our support, whatever you need, do it. We want to see how well you do, and let's see if you can mobilize and actually register more voters. So I told him that I'd finished about 1,000 and I intend to scale this to 5,000 or even more. And I did that. I told him that I want to scale this to a particular amount and I could do it. So at the end of the MP election, we had already registered 5,000 voters. So the idea was that how we can educate the masses, how we can register them to vote, how your vote is so important. So what I essentially do is, which I didn't mention earlier, is as an organization, we go to each school, each college, we educate them on the right to vote, we explain to them where the right comes from, we draw conclusions and tell them how important it is, we give them the framework, and then we register to vote. So my aim is not to only register a lakh of people, 2 lakh people. My aim is to have those voters elect the correct people. So how can we make sure that they elect the correct people, being an apolitical body? is by giving them the framework, is by making them understand that, this is the person that you're voting for. This is the person who's supposed to select a leader, not just not just go and just select any individual that is there on the panel. So what started as a small activity to help couple of people just became a movement. Then I got people to come on board. I got friends, extended friends, people from schools and colleges that voluntarily came on board. We're a non-profit organization, as I said earlier, and we are non-partisan. We don't support any political entity, any political party. We don't oppose them. We don't support them. We have to keep that apolitical point of view so that we can register as many voters and also educate them. Um, Having said that, then I raised a team of young individuals, and we tried to scale this. In every week, we got more people to come join our mission. We went to schools and colleges. We got more people there. We set up a website called markyourpresence.org.in. Essentially, this website is a one-stop for every single voter. If you ever get the time, all you got to do is type markyourpresence.org, and this site will appear. You can register to vote. You can help others register to vote on this website. You can also find out what your constituency is, what your assemblies are, what your wards are, who's your corporator, who's your MLA, who's your MP. You can also find out which election office is closer to your home. Now, these framework is really, really important, which I'll explain in the further questions, which will give you insight. I don't want to club everything into one because then it'll get confusing for everybody to understand. But that's how the organization was formed. The organization was not formed as we want to do something. It was formed as a small activity that I started, and then kept getting momentum, kept getting people to come, and then it became a full-fledged organization. And now we are functioning with a lot of people in the organization that are completely volunteering and are trying to help me complete my dream of having a democracy wherein everybody knows who their representatives are, holds them accountable for the correct things, and actually becomes political, because we cannot hide. We are surrounded by politics. I think every single individual that is seeing this right now will completely agree that whether it is your home, whether it is your school, college, whether it is your university, or your peer group for that matter, or any association that you've been remotely part of, whether sports or whether a debate competition, there is always politics. In your building, there'll be neighbors doing politics. Your society that you live in is obviously registered as a society. So there is a general body meetings. I'm sure you have heard your family and your extended family being part of these meetings or being members of these meetings. There is politics even there to elect members. So politics is surrounded. It is every single where. So we as young individuals need to embrace this, be a part of the system, because there is no point running away, because this is right in our face. So we need to embrace it and be like, let's be political. Let's We don't have to choose any party. We don't have to support any party, but we need to be rational citizens. If anything is wrong, we need to stand by it. If anything is supposed to be done and is not done, you need to reach out to the correct people. And we as young people have the power that if we come together, we can decide who comes into power. This is not some sort of statistics that I'm just saying out of the blue. It is proven fact from esteemed universities all around the world that India is a growing country. It's a young country, but an old nation. 65% of our population is young. So if this young population is going to be the one that is voting, who can stop us? We are unstoppable in so much sense. But the harsh reality is that we are not coming out. How many of us have even thought about registering to vote? How many of us have thought that we should go out, stand in the line and vote? How many of us have thought that only criticizing our representatives isn't the solution? Of course, it is needed when things go wrong, but it's also very important to go out and vote, because if you don't vote and only criticize, you've lost the right to complain. At least every individual that we have right now is 17. So I mean that is watching right now, or towards the you're 18 if I'm not wrong. And so the first thing that you should do is not think about a driving license, because a driving license only gives you the right to drive a car. License to vote can decide who makes that road for you, which is way more powerful than that of driving a car. Driving is personal, but of course, the road that is there is our property, it's ours. Our parents are the taxpayers, people that actually pay for things happen. So, that embedding that personal quality within us is very, very important. And I think if you, as the 17-year-old, set the correct precedents that now we are turning 18, let us go out and let us register to vote. Shouldn't matter if there is no election in Mumbai. Next election in Mumbai is in 2022. So if you register in Jan, you'll be able to, I mean, as soon as you turn 18, you'll be able to vote in the next election. That is the same way that I voted. So as soon as I registered to vote, I had the BMC elections which are coming, and I got a chance to vote, whereas none of my friends had registered at that time, because there is this time wherein you have to register. If you don't register in a particular amount of time towards the election, there is extreme amount of burden on the commission to have, interact and get you registered. So we need to do it as soon as we can, so that we could probably help our society in the best way. Sorry, I've spoken a little too much from what the question was.
No,
I think
it's really
I
good,
think
and you've explained it very beautifully. And we see how, driven you are towards your dream, and we really appreciate it. And I would just request all the students, if you resonate with something that Chaitanya is saying, please give please give a thumbs up reaction button, motivate him, let him know that even you are listening and you understand what he says, and you also agree with him. And if you think that, something that he's saying is good, something you've not heard of, and you really like what he's saying, please give the clap reaction button, just give him some sort of reaction, so that even he knows that there is somebody there receiving the information. And yes, and Chaitanya, thank you so much for explaining the whole initiation of the movement so beautifully, and it's really nice to see how it was just like a WhatsApp text, and now it's like a full-fledged movement with, like, say, I remember visiting your website, and there are so many people, it's not just you and two three people, you are not a bunch of 5 or 10 people. How many people are you in the movement
So we,
at
as
present?
I said earlier, we are a completely youth-driven organization. So everybody that is there is between the ages of 18 to that of 23, 24. There
And
is
that's very
nobody
young.
beyond that age, because
Mm-hmm.
we are all young, so we want to keep it a youth-driven platform. So we've had people come and go throughout our
Mm-hmm.
whole organization, and now we have about 12 to 13 people that are helping us in the core team. We have extended
Mm-hmm.
people who are helping us, who are not part of the core team, but yet are our ambassadors. So we've got about 8 to 9 of our ambassadors who've created concrete change, which is all available on our website. People that have created change in Mumbai in their own way, who are between the ages of 18 to 24, are part of our organization in trying to strengthen our bonds with the society, with people, with young individuals, to create an impact. So we have ambassadors, we have people in the core team that are constantly trying to mobilize things, all of which all of their names are available on the website, and also our Instagram handles. And more importantly, we have people like you, we have people in the extended family, which are very much part of our organization but may not have designated roles, but yet help us. It is my friends that have always helped me, and I dedicate every single moment and every single achievement that I have to my friends and family and extended acquaintances, because they are the ones that take it forward. They are the ones that say, okay, there is this person that is registering to vote, we need to do it for the country, he's giving us all the information. So we have, it would be wrong of me to say I have 12, 13 people, because we have a lot of people helping us. But if I say in the core team, yes, we have about 12 to 13 people that are actively helping us in all ways, who have designated roles. We have a leadership program that we are launching this month, where we'll be selecting
Okay.
37 odd leaders in the city of Mumbai to essentially come and mobilize and or essentially try and create an impact. These leaders will be our future representatives to try and enhance and increase our goal. Of course, this is subjected to probably creating change in the city of Mumbai, but we will have people from all around take part in it, because it is always good to learn how another city functions, sorry, or other district functions as that of the other states, because everybody has a different framework way of functioning. But at the end, the goal is the same. Whether I register 10,000 people in Gujarat, or whether I register 10,000 people in Maharashtra, the idea is that all these voters need to be educated. And yeah, that I think should summarize my theme
So,
in a nutshell.
so I actually want to add on something which Chaitanya told me, but he's not mentioned it here. So, at the age of 21, he was the youngest person to register at least 10,000 voters in the country. So, this is like one of his achievements that he's not told us about, but I had to bring this up. So that's great, Chaitanya. We see that you've done a lot of work at such a young age, and that's great. We're just wondering, it was an idea. It was just, like a little help that you were giving to everybody, and now it's like a full-fledged movement with so many people there. What were some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them? Could you tell us a little about that?
Sure. So the challenges are, I mean, this sounds very, very interesting, intriguing when you say you're building a democracy, you're educating voters, you're trying to create impact. At the same time, it's very, very difficult to convince somebody to register. It's sad, but it's the harsh reality of society. And anybody can try this. When you ask anybody if they registered to vote, first of all, this information is something that people don't know too much about. So people are very skeptical of saying how many people live in Mumbai, what is the state, how do you register. These are facts that people generally don't want to talk about. So people are generally not very welcoming when it comes to being political, because voting is branded by every individual as political. You must have heard this common phrase, "इसमें politics है." End of topic. So voting comes under political party and their responsibility and their umbrella, but it's not something that is spoken about. So to get this topping out, where you ask somebody if you have voters ID, that's how I started. That's why I say, start by the smallest thing. Start by asking people, do you have a voters ID? They'll be very intrigued that why is he asking me this question. And the idea is, when we tell people that they need to register, the framework is that people at large are not very aware about what they're voting for, who they're voting for. So the whole concept and the whole challenge is that they need to understand that first to get the importance of why they should register. It becomes a long process, because see, registering them to vote is what? Just like making an Instagram account. Just that in an Instagram account you have names put in. Here, only names put in. Here you have name information and also photos. So Instagram you put the photos later on. Here you put the photos when you're filling the form, and that's the only difference. It is that simple. But see, what happens is, it is something that is personal. It is something that is government oriented. I mean, not government oriented, election commission oriented, which obviously come in the purview of India. And it becomes a technical matter. So convincing people to register becomes a task, because not everybody understands the framework. Hence I have started the concept of education, because only if I make them realize the importance of it, they'll jump and they will come to register to vote. So now every individual that is listening to this or hears it in years to come, months to come, will not be hesitant to register, because he understands the genesis and the importance of the whole perspective. So he will right jump into it and do it. But if you're unaware, like any other common citizen, because this information is there, but it's not accessible. So if somebody tells you to register to vote and then tells you, oh, you have to go on this site, you have to register to vote, you have to fill all your details, you've lost that person right there, because he would be like, this is too much to do and I'm not doing it. So the challenge is that people at large are not very aware about the whole framework. So you got to really explain, you got to really talk to them. So getting the team, making them understand what to say, spreading the message becomes a task, because not everybody is very, as I said, politically aware. That's a problem, at least in a city like Mumbai. When you talk about Delhi, because I've registered a lot of voters in Delhi as well, the framework is different. Being politically aware in Delhi is an extremely good thing. If you're not, then you're shunned upon. You're looked at, oh, you don't know anything about what's happening around. But in Mumbai, it is opposite. You don't know about anything, it's cool, it's fine. You know about Bollywood and who released which movie when, but you will not know about who your representatives and what their responsibilities is. And sadly, this has become the problem, because we are influenced by the wrong people in certain states. So we need to be influenced by the correct people around so that we can analyze information. A very good example of this influencing is influencers like Abhi and New. I'm sure every individual has probably come across their videos. They keep informative videos for 3 minutes, 2 minutes in their encounter, which really educate the masses. They may not do justice to what they've said. They may not be able to do the exact point of view, but at least they try their level best to try and mobilize this whole perspective, and I think that is very important. Other challenges are to get the correct people on board. In my organization, I cannot have people that cannot answer any particular question, because if at all somebody, see, as I said, voting becomes very technical, it becomes very personal. Somebody tells you, I want to register to vote, but how do I do it? And if you don't have the answer to it, How will you help any other individual? So the task is one, need to know all your information, get the correct people on board, and moreover select the correct people so that they can spread the message. So the task essentially is, I would say, to convince people, and it may sound very easy, but it's extremely difficult. Followed by getting the team to actually sit down and do something for some person that he doesn't know or she doesn't know, or whatever. So it becomes very difficult to. Sorry, there was a fly. It becomes extremely. This has become a problem now. You're in your homes and yet you have these moths flying and these. I don't know if the situation is the same everywhere, but I seem to have been facing a lot of these issues at home. Okay, that was on a lighter note. But yeah, the task at large is that people are not very politically driven and socially aware. So you have to first convince them, and only after convincing them can you probably think that they'll register to vote. So what seems like a small window is a large one. So yeah. Sorry, I've made the screen large now so I can see everybody. Earlier I was on a gallery view. That's why my focus was on the right edge. And now I'm looking straight at everybody. So this seems better. Wonderful.
Okay, so Chaitanya, tell us, was there any research or any factual backing that was there, that had to be done? Uh, the reason I'm asking this question is, if tomorrow any of these students, or say any other student, wants to start, say, any other movement, I just want them to know that how important it is to get the right facts, how important it is to know that the facts that you have is correct. How do they verify it? How do they go about, doing the research, all the background research to start such a movement? So why don't you tell us about yourself, and then maybe tell us, if they want to do something like this, how would it work for them?
So, thank you for bringing up that question. It's extremely important. Without research, without backing, you cannot, in the social spectrum, start anything. Till you have got the facts right about what you're doing, you cannot start it. First, if anybody, I'll answer that question in two halves. With respect to mark your presence, what I did, everything was researched from I would say from A to Z before I did anything. If I had to understand I'm registering voters, I needed to understand how many voter forms are there. Form 6 happens to be one form. There's Form 6A, there's Form 6.8, there's 18, there's OOC voters. There are about, I would say, 7 to 8 or 9 forms. Each have different opinions. I mean, each has different duties, and each are filled by different sorts of people. So I had to do my research on every single form that is accessible and is available on the election commission page. I had to analyze constituencies. What is a constituency? What is a ward? What is the framework? I have read the People's Representation Act. I have understood it. In fact, it is always there on my table because I overlook that document twice a day to understand frameworks. So it's more like studying, but studying when something is fun. Imagine you're doing a subject that you really love. We always have some subjects that we really like and some that we are supposed to do by our syllabus. The ones that we like, we will really bring out the essence. A project comes, we'll project it well, we'll do good things. So exactly the same way, you need to have every single fact, and you need to have that zeal to probably present, know, understand, learn more, because reading is never enough. This portion that you're doing, that you're studying, is just one speck. If you don't go above the horizon and read other things, then absolutely we are always lost. So having said that, research was done by me extensively on every single detail. I analyzed the status of every state, their population, and how many are there, why are they not voting, how they differ. I have extensively written a document wherein I have illustrated and said why youth of Mumbai doesn't, or youth of India for that matter, does not vote. So my TED talk, which is accessible, I have extensively spoken about on why the youth doesn't vote. And this has not come from just probably experience. It's come from documentation. It's come from analyzing a couple of states. So I've held seminars in Bengaluru. I've held seminars in Delhi and Mumbai. I've analyzed these three states. Before that, now if you say before that what research I did, is all on the internet. When you talk about the election commission website, the election commission of India has a website which has every single detail. I analyze things, I try to find out, I spoke to people, and try to develop strategies to understand and solve problems. Only after you have factual proof that what you're going to do is going to validate and help the society, then it makes sense doing it, because then you see there's something concrete. Then I found out that the population in every state is young. So my model is something that is replicated everywhere, and can help students at large in India. So the idea was that you got to do your research in every perspective, not only in your state but beyond that, to try and create circles, to try and understand information. And it's easy, information about everything in today's time is easily accessible. It's all on Google. Everything is on Google, and every single site can give you enough information. People that stay in Mumbai, if you want any information to do with the BMC, all you have to go and do is type BMC website on Google. You will get the BMC website. You will understand each document. You will understand each thing that is given on the website itself. Of course, it's a government website, so it's not some fancy website where you can have upload a photo and see what's happening and stuff like that. But the factual hard reality is given to you. They have a COVID count. They have a count wherein how many COVID patients are there in which area. So you can really analyze any information in today's time from the websites given. So idea was I mean with Markio Presence I even analyzed with some cases since I'm a law student, and I did a lot of research from the election offices to the tehsildars to the BLO to the ERO, or the framework is what the framework of the election bodies are. How many of us know that the election, there are two sorts of bodies with respect to the election bodies in India? There is a chief electoral officer which deals with the registration of every election. Then there is a state election commission. These are two bodies which are there that are part of the election commission of India. The state election commission works as an independent body, and essentially can has their own rules and can work individually, whereas the chief electoral officer is runs with the support of the election commission of India. Election Commission of India is the main banner wherein we have these two wings running. So at the end of the day, there is a lot of information. I mean, registering to vote doesn't come from only seeing the form and sending it to people. It comes from understanding everything. Today, if any person asks me any information about any form and calls me up and says, I was filling the form, and while I was filling the form, it rebooted or it did this, or I couldn't fill the name, I can actually correct that issue by just talking to him on the call, because I have dealt with so many forms, and I've also read extensively about how it's filled in general and how things are done. So with Mark Your Presence, lot of research, because this area is something that if you get into, then you need to know facts correctly. Otherwise, nobody is going to support you in the whole movement. But as young people who want to start things, if you want to start an organization, if you want to start something of yourself, the first thing you have to do is find out more about it. The question is why, how, what, when. If you have these things clear, then your startup is more alike to do good, or your initiative or your campaign or whatever. If you don't have your why clear, what you're doing, when you're doing, and how you're going to do it, then nothing is going to go anywhere. So at Mark Your Presence, what we also do is every single young individual that wants to start something, we give them the platform. We tell them, why don't you talk to us? Write to us about what your startup deck is. We are not uh, some professional experts that have some sort of degree or something like that. But what we do as young individuals is help another young person. So we provide the platform to help every individual to try and analyze, because we have somewhat some experience to run a small campaign like how we have. We use that to help other individuals without expecting anything from anybody. And we essentially, the first thing anybody, if anybody has come with a problem with us or has come to us with their startup problems, we say, till you know your why, how, when, what, and you write it down and you give it to us, we can't think of anything else. Because everybody knows their how, why. No, everybody knows their how, what, when, but very few know their why. And this is written extensively, not by or said not by me, but by experts The reason why Apple as a company is very, very successful is because they have their why in place. And this is written by experts called Simon Sinek. You guys can probably find out a little bit about him. And he's written extensively about how companies progress and what they do. So idea is once you have your framework in mind, then we as an organization also help young individuals like you as an incubator to try and probably help you in whatever best way we can and guide you, because we've got everybody in our organization is a change maker. Nobody who's come on board and helped us is somebody that has not started something of their own. So they come on board to help us, and they also help other people. So that our cause grows, we help you as young individuals. So it's you get the confidence to start something and probably create something very, very big in the future.
Okay. Yes, Chaitanya, we actually see the why being very, very strong with the way you've been telling us about Mark Your Presence. We see a very, very strong vision. We see a very, very strong cause to start something and to keep working on your vision. We see that very clearly. So, Chaitanya, there's also something that I came across, which is your representative. How about you tell us something a little about that and how is it connected to Mark Your Presence? Um, yeah, tell us something about that.
So yeah. So your representative is a weekly that we used to run. So as I said, our Mark Your Presence started registering and educating voters before the elections. So that is 2019 elections. During this election, we had to get a message across to each and every student that these are our elected representatives. This is what they have done. So select, look at them, analyze, interpret, and then vote. We needed a medium to do that. Mark Your Presence obviously is an organization that is non-profit, non-political, and we always maintain an apolitical stand. So we didn't want anybody to feel that we are trying to bring out any representation in any individual or trying to show anybody that is not in good light or something of that sort. So what we essentially did was we created a tabloid, or I would say a newsletter is what I call it, which gave detailed information to every single young individual that we had encountered with, essentially about what their constituency is, what their assembly is, what their ward is, and who is standing for an election. Because it is a proven fact that irrespective of how educated you are and where you've studied or how much knowledge you know, you select your representatives in the last 24 hours or last 24 minutes. Unless and until you're a political family or a political party member. So if you're part of the political party, you're obviously going to vote for that political party. But otherwise, if you're a young individual, how do you know who represents you? How do you know who all are contesting? So we tried to, all this information is already accessible. It's not like we created a bubble of them. We just graphically represented it and sent it to people, and people really found that something interactive. So we extended that. We continued that. We didn't stop whether elections came or no. Since 2019 was the year of elections, every state had their own elections. So we continued that. Every week we had enough information to give you about your area. Now, when I'm saying area, when I'm saying constituency, it's very important for you to understand this. So let me take Mumbai as an example. Now, Mumbai is a city, as we all know, a metropolitan city which has so much traffic, so many people. But more importantly, so many voters. But what is the framework of these voters? 65% of our Maharashtra's population is young. Now, our everybody knows about how populated Mumbai is. Now, when we talk about Mumbai, what is Mumbai in the angle of a person that is socially, politically inclinated or probably aware? I'll give you the framework. So, essentially, we have 37 assemblies, we have 7 parliamentary constituencies, and we have 227 wards. This is the framework of Mumbai. So, what is a parliamentary constituency? The parliamentary constituency is a constituency from where your parliament representative stands and he gets elected. So, there are 7 of them. What is an assembly? The assembly is divided. So, a parliamentary constituency gets divided into an assembly. An assembly gets further divided into a ward. Who's the representative of a ward? A BMC head, a BMC corporate as we call it, or a councillor. So this framework is very important. So when you go out and when you go out to vote in general, there are 3 elections that are easily accessible. Of course, there is an MLC election as well, but let's leave that aside because it will get too complicated. When we talk about this framework, when there's a Lok Sabha elections, you vote for MPs. They are member of parliament who are elected representatives by you, not selected. Selected in Rajya Sabha. When this is the Lok Sabha elections, which is the MP, then comes the MLA. MLA is your area. Now everybody knows. I will give you an illustration so you understand. And then after you vote for your MLA, then there is something called the BMC election, which is a corporation. Now I'll give you an example of Mumbai. Now Mumbai. Every city has this framework. So I think everybody wherever you are will connect to it. There is Mumbai's map. Then there is South Mumbai. Have you guys heard about South Mumbai? I'm sure you have heard. So since the map of Mumbai is there and we have South Mumbai, in South Mumbai, we have one MP that represents South Mumbai. That's done. In South Mumbai, you know that there is Gateway of India. There is Kolaba. I mean, Gateway of India being part of Kolaba. Then there's the Worli Sea Face. So there's Worli. So different areas, like different places where you stay, those come under that area. So now there is a representative for every area, and their head is the MP. Now let's go a little deeper. Within Kolaba, there are different sects. There are different areas. Those areas also have heads. Those are our representatives. Now, why am I giving you this framework? The main problems that we as young students or have in general lie with these three people. So it's very important if tomorrow anybody asks you, who's your MP? You should know. Who's your MLA? You should know. It's like knowing your teacher, it's like knowing your headmistress, and it's like knowing your um, principal. What we know is only the trustees. Why am I saying that? Why am I saying that to you? If there is a problem on the road, if there's a pothole, what do people at large do? They tweet to the prime minister. They tweet to the president. The roads are bad. India is bad. End of topic. But it's like tomorrow, if you have a problem, will you go to a teacher who teaches you in that subject, or will you go to the trustee and be like, "Sir, you have given an examination. This is not fair." So the framework is very, very important. So when people tweet on Twitter and say, this is what our prime ministers did. If it's in his area, yes, you should do it. But if it's not, we are showing that we ourselves are not politically aware. We ourselves are not politically educated. So it's very important. Now, don't get me wrong of not holding people accountable. There are a lot of things that don't come in the purview of the prime minister, the government, and the people. But it's important for us to hold the correct people accountable. Because if you're really here to solve your problem, if you don't reach out to the correct person, your problem is not going to be solved no matter who you are. So even when you call, if you have a problem with respect to the roads, and you tweet to the chief minister of the city, and it goes viral. So young people get this, I tweeted, I blamed this person, and now my tweet has gone viral. Everybody's talking about it. He gets the sense of pride that on social media people have acknowledged him. But what did he do? He basically blamed the MP for something that is not his responsibility or her responsibility. The MP calls the cooperator. Instead of that, you could have called the cooperator and said, my name is so and so, and I live in Worli or I live in Kolaba. This road is extremely bad, sir, because there are so many potholes. Please solve it for us. These are the pictures. This is my name. This is my address. You can please, and they will solve the problem. If not, you have a record. Then you tweet properly. Then you take screenshots of what you tweet and said, I have already informed the government. I have already informed the ministry, but nobody has solved my problem yet. So at least you have proof by what you are saying. So it's very important for us to be active. Now, this is not rocket science. This is very, very simple. Any one of us can be politically aware, politically active. First step of being politically aware is use social media as a good tool. I know following influencers, following bloggers, following actors is fun. It's interesting, stand-up comedians, but also try to follow some people in the social spectrum. Follow what they're doing. Following our leaders on social media, trust me, in today's time is enough. You will know what they're doing. You don't have to stay updated, Google about them. That's not needed. Basic framework. Tomorrow you have a problem. Now, if I ask anybody, tomorrow if you have a problem in area, who will you go to? Nobody has the number. Nobody has an answer. They are accessible. They are all public servants, remember. They are all here to serve you. You have elected them. They are responsible. They are liable to help you. If they don't, they can be held accountable. I mean, all of you are going to be voters, so this is very important for you to know. You can hold the correct people accountable. And see, also understand when you hold them accountable, it's not a blame game. It's not about dragging them down. I tweeted, roads not done. You are standing up there. You are need to be a little kind to people. At the end of the day, it's a two-way street. They are also working really, really hard. We might not see it because media doesn't highlight those factors. But it's also very important for us to feel for them because imagine one MP of Mumbai who's representing Mumbai South has 37 assemblies. That means he has a Kulaba, he has a Worli, he has a Cup Parade, he has a Mahim, he has a, Mahim to an extent because it's just boundary of Mumbai South. He has so many areas to deal with. From Kambala Hill going on to Pedder Road. It is widespread our population. There is so much pressure. It's like saying go to the principal and the trustee for every problem that you have, and the principal and the trustee has to cater to you. That's the now imagine the population of a institute or a college is how much? 500,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. Imagine the population of our city in one lane, in one building, how many hundreds and thousands of families live. And imagine addressing their problems. You cannot make everybody happy. Now, why am I telling you all this? Is because there is this thing which is spread amongst young people that politics is bad, politics is dirty. It's important for you to be rational citizens. Even now, I'm saying all this. Don't believe what I say. Google it yourself, analyze it yourself, choose the leaders yourself, understand their responsibilities yourself. It's civic sense, it's civic liability. What you can do is understand what their rights and duties are. Now, how will you understand what I've basically told you is going back to the research question, is all research of what you understand of how many people are there in a constituency, how many people are there in the assembly, and how much pressure the leader takes. Once you research more, read more, and analyze more, only then you respect people, because then you understand where they're coming from, what they're doing, and how difficult it is. Why people are taking digs at everybody right now on social media is because they're not understanding that person. So, as we as rational citizens and you as young voters need to first, if you want to be politically aware, get on Twitter. This I'm outright telling you. Of two things I tell people outright: register to vote and get on Twitter. Getting on Twitter is the first act of being politically social. I've been on Twitter for a long time, but the idea is that I'm there only to understand information. I'm not here to build some sort of family out there. But it's a very good audience. It's very good to engage. And once you really understand and once you get political, trust me, it is better than any other influencer's page. You will be hooked onto your phones for hours because there is so much to learn from every leader. They have some are businessmen, some are social workers, some are just casual people. So idea is mark your presence also believes in the idea that we need to keep a apolitical front, at the same time connect the masses to the leaders so that the masses understand the leaders, and understanding the leader again comes from a deeper perspective is because youth of Mumbai, youth of Delhi, youth of all of India in general are not voting because there is no connect with their leader, because the leaders are not of their generation, they don't understand them, they feel so. But if you try to connect with them, reason with them, there will be that one window that you open and then vote for whoever that you think is ideally right. And mark me, nobody or anybody that tells you to vote for any individual, do not believe anybody. You do the research yourself. Today, if I also tell you vote for A party or B party, I have experience of registering so many voters. Don't believe, research on your own. We as an organization don't tell anybody who to vote for. That's on you. We don't even criticize outright policies so that when you criticize a policy, you're either for or against a government. There's never a middle ground. So that's why marker presence always makes it an attempt that we just give you the information. What have I been doing for the past 20, 30 minutes? I'm only giving you information so it opens your mind. It makes you realize that, okay, this is the situation. These are the amount of voters. This is India's situation. And we need to do something. And you can do it in your level. I chose my section, which is trying to build a stronger democracy. Every one of you may have different likings. You might have sports, you might have this, you might have whatever it may be, creative writing. But you could start with the smallest things to try and create an impact in society. And in today's time of social media, nobody has right to complain. You want to start an organization, start an Instagram page, you can call it an organization. It's not registered. It's a different factor, but those things comes later on. You can get on Twitter and say, I am doing this. I mean, factually do it, just don't be on social media and just say you're doing it and don't do it like some of the influencers that we have. I'm not against any influencers. I just feel that they are not talking about the things that are relevant, uh, and that is what is deterring our audience. Look at the US election. Look at how every individual is promoting everything. I truly believe that if India could do that, see, that has to come. People like me can really work out for 3 years, 4 years, but it has to come from you. I can give you every day a 20-minute lecture, register. We have Sakshi here, we have Ayush here, we have Ishan here, we have Param here. I could, we have Pradeep here, and Nityam here. I could always talk to you all and tell you all that you need to register. But if you don't feel for it, you'll register and then not vote in an election. What is the point of that then? So idea is to get a little deeper. Idea is to understand things in a more deeper perspective. And more importantly, if you don't want to get political, it's totally fine. But let's not be ignorant. Let us be, it is there right in our face. So it's there around us. So next time somebody tells you which party do you support, tell them outright which party you support. Don't reserve yourself. Discuss with your friends. In fact, your friends are the best people. Today you might like a party, he might say no, this party has done something wrong. Talk to them, create a group, analyze information. Everybody that is on listening to us or probably will listen to it later on, discuss with your friends. Don't fight with them. If you do realize they don't like your supporting this party, don't force opinions on people, but discuss. Only with discussion can we make politics casual. And my aim is to make politics cool, is to get back, because I personally feel voting is the coolest thing that has come in the powers of every individual for free. Do you know that US has not granted rights to women for 100 years to vote? India, in spite of, I don't have to say anything, in spite of having so much casteism, in spite of having so many things in India, we have granted rights to every single person to vote. In US, where we compare our country to that country, we say, you know, oh, that country is so good, that country is this. They also have had their downfalls. They have been granted rights to women for 100 odd years. People had to fight. People like Susan B. Anthony had to go out on the streets and say, this is our right. Imagine how foolish it sounds. Women not given the right to vote. I mean, it's pointless, but women were not given rights. India, from the very first day, said irrespective of which community, which caste you are, you can go out. And I think we as young people should take this one line that our constitution says and celebrate it every day. Because irrespective of which community, caste, class, creed, or whichever representative you have of LGBTQ plus or any caste community, doesn't matter which section of society you're part of. India has said you're an Indian citizen, you can vote. And I think this is the strongest thing any country could do, in spite of what our country has gone through. We have gone through so much plundering, we have gone through so much hatred from different countries coming, looting us over. But yet, India has been strong on that front of giving the right to every individual. And I think we as young people should be proud of it immensely. If anybody criticizes your country in whatever way, you should stand for it and never say that India is not at par. India is always at par. Realize that we are, how many years have we done of our independence that we've completed, that we compare ourselves to United States of America and we compare ourselves to United Kingdom. We cannot compare ourselves to these countries because they have been independent for so much time. They have been in a position of power for so much time. They've developed, their democracy has grown. We are 75 odd years down. Imagine in 75 odd years how much we've done. Our Indian origin people are CEOs in first world countries. So imagine what power we have. Until we realize that we as Indians can live in our own soil and create an impact, then I cannot say anything further. We need to realize we can stay in our own countries and create that. Imagine all the people that are CEOs in Silicon Valley right now, and billions of dollars they're earning. If they had stayed back here or gone back there and come back here and created something of the same order, Don't you think our economy would have become better? Don't you think we would have been able to employ more people? Don't you think you would have inspired all of you to start something of your own? So, idea is that we need to have a sense of pride. We need to have that. We need to understand that India comes from a long way, being a very very old country with very very young people right now. We need to enhance this and think about how we could do something for our country. And of course, nobody can stop you from going abroad to study and then. But always think in mind that our country is first, and we need to make sure that we as young individuals, as majority, as 60% of our population is younger than 32 years of age. This population needs to understand that, okay, I have a responsibility to my nation, that I have to do something for this in whatever way. You could probably be, I'm not saying choose the way that I did, doing a non-profit. Not everybody wants to do stuff for society and not earn. Even if that is not the case, whatever you do, always keep in mind wherever you are in the world that you have a service or a duty towards your nation that you should always fulfill, no matter how old you are, because your one action may inspire five people, and that is good enough for the country to start off with. So I think I've again gone overboard with answering way more than what I should have.
No, no, it's great. You are really informing us much more than what we know, and definitely you are even just telling us how to go about, why voting is so important, and yeah, and even how to go about it. How do we get more information? Very very basic things are also coming out, so thank you so much. But there's just something that I want to ask you, which is a little personal, which I think, our children would really like to know, because they are also, so we have our children in 11th and 12th grade, and they are finding it very tough. So I'm the school counselor. A lot of children come to me saying that, ma'am, I don't know how to balance my sports and my academics, and we see you, running such a big initiative, managing. You are a fifth year law student, and then we also know that you are a national athlete. So we are just wondering, how did you go about, like I said, it's a little personal question. We just want to know how you went about, managing all of this.
No, thank you for asking that. And it is not personal at all. I think in the past one and a half, 2 years of my being in uh, doing service to society, my life has almost become like an open book. So it is a question that is very, very needed. And in fact, said, see, when you really like something that you do, you find time. So if you force yourself to start something, then you are going to be in a great problem. But if you do something that you really like, then it becomes like your child, like your baby, or whatever you may call it. So mark your presence is part of my life. It is not a company. It is not a NPO. It is something that is mine, and I have to deal with it. That's one thing. How do I manage? So as athletes, and I've been competing and representing the state of Maharashtra and competing in 400, 200, and earlier in the longer 800 and 1500 events. It's the very beginning, since I would say ninth standard. So I, as athletes, we generally have this discipline and this formation that we've always been brought up, that how to manage yourself. So my knowledge of that of management and being disciplined comes from my sport. But keeping, how do you probably level and how do you balance things is obviously by maintaining a calendar. Everything that you do needs to be written. Right now, whatever meetings I do or however I function is all on my Google Calendar. If anybody has access to my calendar, will know what I'm doing for the next 4 months. That's how life needs to be planned if you're starting something of your own. Now, when it comes to my sport, my day starts early in the morning at 5:30 because my training is early in the morning. So how do I balance my sports? I have my sports in the morning, so I go for my training in the morning. As soon as my training gets over, I have college, I have law school till 11:30, and after my law school is over, I'm at home doing Mark Your Presence. I have also made sure that this format remains the same. So, and I also train in the evening. Sorry. So the afternoon is the time where I technically get time to work on myself, whether I am probably studying or probably reading or probably working on Mark Your Presence. So luckily, as law students, what they concentrate on is that you as students should grow, get experience. So we don't have really long hours in college, because the whole point of being a law student is so that we can enhance our abilities outside the college to be a because the idea is to be a counsel, the idea is to be able to argue, and that is something that comes from experience and from senior counsels and other people. So the formation of law is such that it gives us freedom. Of course, my practice was in the morning, so as soon as practice is done, I then happen to have to go to college and be there till 11:30, and then followed by, as I said, work towards my goal in mark your presence, and then again start with my training in the late afternoon. During exams, obviously the training schedule does not go as planned, and I have to not train those particular days and then study overnight and probably make sure the portion is completed. But yeah, having said that, it is how I manage it. When exams come closer, 2 months, 3 months, I essentially have to cut down on a lot of my activities, and nobody can continue the same format throughout the year. If you have exams, if you don't have exams and you have just work, then it's all right. I mean, and but you as students will have examinations, will have stuff to do. So it is by protocol, I would say, goes without saying that when you come closer to an exam, you have to probably sacrifice on something that you're doing just so that. Likewise, when you have your events coming in the sport, you don't have to study or probably do your assignments or something of that sort during that time. Of course, if you have a deadline to meet, then you have no option, but otherwise you can take things easy. So prioritize what's important. So if exams are coming 2 months from now, you got to go easy on your training and concentrate more on your exams. The minute exams get over, just make sure that you are giving 2 hours earlier for training. Just convert that into 4 hours. But you should have the will to do that. Like converting a two into four is very, very important. And otherwise, I think it all depends on what subjects you take and what you're doing in general, because and it also is important where you're studying, which part of the of India are you studying, because if you've taken a course and you're studying probably abroad, then there's very, very difficult to micromanage things and be able to do 10 things because you're in a foreign country. Not everything is going to be easy for you, and you as young students who are going to probably go abroad or probably stay in your country, it's very important to understand that when you're at home, when you're in your own country, you can actually micromanage a lot of things, because you don't have to worry about your food, you don't have to worry about what you're going to do or how you're going to wash your clothes, because everything is done at home and taken care of, or even you can do it for that matter. I think that's one thing we've learned in the lockdown, that all of us can do the things that are at home, whether it's cleaning the floor or whether it is cooking or whether it's washing your clothes. I think all of us have done it. At least I have been doing it extensively throughout this lockdown. So um, if you're it's very subjective to say how you can manage. How I manage is, as I told you, I literally gave out my schedule to you. Start practice in the morning, followed by college, then work, then practice again. And yeah, now where is the time to chill, as we say in our common word, or probably as young people, is on weekends. And maybe a Saturday or a Sunday when you don't have too many assignments on colleges, when you probably, and the concept of chilling is completely gone off late because of the pandemic. I mean, at least I'm talking from a perspective of living in Mumbai. The concept of going out and flocking around with friends and probably reading together or doing anything together is become um an idea that you can't think of. So having that in mind, this lockdown should be used and this pandemic should be used to improve your skills, because you can meet your deadlines, you can do what you want to right now. And I would say reading is very, very important, an habit that needs to be. I try to remove time out in my schedule to read every day. um, can call a person that reads a lot a geek, but I think that's what helps you in life, and that's what lets you in life, in the sense not earning a better salary or not probably doing well. Essentially, becoming a better human, using the correct words in the correct spaces prepares you for interviews. And I think that is the way forward. And like reading, I mean, I can always send you 5 books, but you'll read it only if you want to. That's a very good example to tell you what situation I face with voting. You can you can love a movie or you can love a book, If you tell your friends read it, he's only going to read it if he wants to. And that's the same tackle and there's the same struggle that I face every day with market presence. I've spoken extensively throughout this thing of how important your right to vote is and from where it comes from. But if you guys don't feel that's important, then probably you will not vote or probably not register. So how I start is that forget voting. First you register to vote and first you understand the importance of it. When election comes, you may have the opportunity or the time to decide what needs to be done. But if you don't register now, there's no way you can probably vote when an election comes close. So don't lose the opportunity to select a leader that stays for 5 years to govern your body. Just be a little responsible and just be yourself. I think that is the way forward.
Yeah, so I see, Chaitanya. So this is, I think, something that all our students should hear. I hope they've not missed it. That Chaitanya very clearly says, if you love something, it needs more time, it needs more effort. That's the only way to bring a progress in that area. Like there's just no compensation. There's no easy way out. It's just like you need to give your effort and you need to give your time. You have to do it. Am I correct, Chaitanya?
Yes, yes, of course. To
Yes. So
add
that
on,
is.
to
Mhm.
add on something, I remember when you asked me some struggles that I face.
Yes.
I think the struggle is social media. I am not the kind of person that likes to show what I have done. I'm the kind of person that likes to do the work. If it's good, it will be recognized. If it's not good, so be it. You know, that doesn't mean you should not seize every opportunity, but you should do things yourself, and people will recognize you. Now, social media is the opposite. No matter what you do, you don't show it there, nobody's going to know what you're doing. So we've done so much grassroots work in terms of marker presence, registered thousands of voters, interacted with so many students. But if you go on social media, of course, we've been written extensively uh, by newspapers, and they've reached out to us from ranging from Times of India to, I mean, all of them have written extensively without us, and I've had the privilege to give a TED talk in the initial part of my campaign itself. So people recognize what you do. But now on social media, in terms of Instagram, is one very important thing that I have to tell you is, I mean, people don't follow the correct things, and that's where organizations and non-profits don't really gain. So that's one struggle that I've faced, engaging or directing the audience of Instagram, that it's so very I would say meme oriented or probably fun oriented, that they don't follow serious organizations or organizations. So that is one big problem. So technically, we've registered thousands of voters and we registered more than 10,000 only in the last election. We should have had at least 5,000 followers on social media. But people have registered and then forgotten. So during the election, we had a lot of traction on social media in terms of our Instagram, because people were just tagging us and talking to us and sending us messages. But that seems to have drifted apart, and we have really had problems in terms of this. So that is one area that we've had a lot of problems, Instagram, and getting the correct people to follow us. Because once people know at large and once things go viral, sadly in today's time, only then does the page really get traction. But otherwise you are just doing work. So then I was forced to put pictures of what I'm doing, and who are the people involved. I kept it oriented to what mark your presence is and what my mission is, which is important. I don't need to show people that I have gone to the college, or I've gone to 40 odd colleges in 6 odd months to explain voting. What I need to show to you is how to register to vote. I don't need to show you what I have done. But sadly, in today's time, you have to show it. You know, if you've gone to a college, photo kahan pe? वो डालो, that kind of a thing. What you done needs to be documented by a picture. Why? I mean, uh, I mean, credibility is another thing altogether. I'm not getting into that perspective, but I'm talking, in terms of work. So that is a great problem. Twitter handles is something that we've just created, as I said earlier. We just created, but we want to grow our presence there. And I'm using this lockdown to try and enhance our social media, to try and get it at par in that of an Instagram between us has become like an advertising agency. You pay for the ad, you get the traction. You don't promote it, you don't get traction. So what do organizations like ours do? Which we are a bunch of young people, 21, 22 years of age, trying to create impact. So if we don't have the capital enough to invest into promoting an ad, that means people will not see what we are doing. In turn, it won't really. increase our reach, so if you see concrete organizations that are driven by young people, they'll be in the range of 800 to 1000 followers or something of that sort. But one, why am I telling you this? Whenever you see an organization, don't not, if you think the cause is good, don't not follow it just because they have less followers. That's not how we judge the credibility of an organization or any person. Every person right here, I'm sure even the people that are watching and all have watched or have come in and went out in general, every one of you can contribute in the best way possible. I can guarantee right now that if you guys even send out one, all of us have phones, all of us have smartphones, all of us have 1,500 contacts on an average, or even 800 contacts on our phone. Let's consider you don't have 800 contacts, you have 500 contacts. One broadcast message to all these people that you register to vote. Imagine how many people you will help. So today, when I look back and I say that you registered so many voters, I feel a sense of pride that all these voters for the whole life will vote and remember me that I have helped them, because you don't have to renew it every year. It's a lifetime. And I know for a fact I'm talking to so many of these young individuals from this college slash school. I know for a fact that uh, when you go out to vote, you're going to remember that there was this one guy who came and spoke for some time, and he spoke about voting, and that's enough to keep us going. To inspire even one person in a half an hour conversation is what we're looking at. So everything that I'm saying is accessible. You can type markyourpresence.org.com, org.in. You can even type my name, Chaitanya Prabhu, and I think you'll get enough validation over there as well. Yeah. So the idea is of how we could scale this, how you as young individual could follow the correct things. It gets a little boring sometimes to follow a serious organization page. Agreed. Nobody's saying no to that. But you also learn. So today, take some time out, see some organizations. Obviously, follow mine. That's by protocol, is what I'll always say. But don't take me for what I'm saying. Uh, Face value, of course, you can take me for, but you can go on the page, see what is written, see what content you like. More importantly, when you see young organizations like ours, which is there, DM, say what you don't like. Don't be rude, but feel free to send. I would probably like reels made on these things. I would probably like made, that helps because that's how you function. So if once you start following my organization, you'll realize I run polls. I run stuff like DM me if you have this. Of course, people in the organization are sitting and analyzing every DM. We get negative, we get positive, we get all sorts of things, but we learn. You're always a learner, you're always a student. If anybody says, I get done after this, if you're a young entrepreneur, irrespective of what you are a young student till you're running an organization, because you're always learning. And I think learning is what is the best. Well, I'm learning from experience. So I'm not learning from any books. Books are my people. So that is, I think, a very good way. And once you start something of your own, nobody's saying it's easy. It is difficult. Starting something, actually, to be honest, is easy. Maintaining it is difficult. Anybody can start a YouTube page, anybody can start an Instagram page and say, oh, I'm arrived, I'm here. Today I'm going to give fitness news. But to continue that, to get people around, it is very, very difficult. But there's no doubt that any person in India can't do it. Every one of us has the power to change. Uh, as, uh, as rightfully everybody has said it, from Mahatma Gandhi onwards to Dal, everybody has always said it that within every one lies a small person that is wanting to do a change. And I think every one of us can create that. So again, I added a little more to my struggle, but social media has been a real task. So I thought it's imperative for me to tell you guys of how, and it's been used for the negative. It's like a double-edged sword. It's been used very badly in the lockdown. If you've noticed and been on Instagram and been kind of hate that has been spreading. So try not to be the ones that are trying to spread hate. Love is anyways less in the city in India. Spread that. Like somebody's page, go there, comment on the page, say you're doing a great job. Don't know him, fine. If you think he's doing a great job or she's doing a great job, please express your views, because that one comment, you will not realize this now. But tomorrow, if you one of you will probably call me up and say, if we have Nityam here, so if Nityam, calls me and says that, this is what I'm doing and I probably need some sort of assistance. Am I going well? And I tell him this. And probably my organization page goes and comments, Nityam, you're doing a great job. Nityam's got only 5 lakhs on his page. Nityam will really get the confidence to put the next post. One doesn't realize this till he actually starts something of their own. So be more kind on social media. Hold people accountable. Somebody has not done something wrong or cheated you. Do what you are supposed to do, what you feel is right. But don't be mean. Because I know of some of these people that have got, um, you know, this problems in terms of people trying to shun them down, and that has become very negative. But right again, people who do wrong need to be kept accountable, and always analyze information well. Like there is a very good episode which went on Netflix, which has come out, which is called Bad Boys Billionaire. I don't like that episode at all, because that episode puts the people that have cheated taxpayers in good light. So it's important to analyze information. So now these why am I saying this? Because the episode has come out. It gives you an illustration of the people that have cheated the taxpayers in their own way. Nobody's going personal on them. But don't take what they've given as face value. Research on what they've done. There they've been portrayed as good boys billionaire, as people that were charismatic, as people that were in that you would drive inspiration to. No, you shouldn't drive inspiration to people that have cheated the government. So this Netflix series is a very good example to take as young individuals, that whenever anything is put forward to you, no matter whether it's a movie, whether it's an episode, or whether it's people like me telling you, if I see 65% of Maharashtra's population is young, check it yourself. Validate it by something. If I say people are not voting, research on it. Don't take whatever I say or anybody says for face value, because that's where we as voters make a mistake. Somebody comes and promises you something, ask him, this was the problem last time, why didn't you solve it? Don't have to be rude. You can directly ask him, respected sir. You as young individuals can write to any person, any corporator, any MP. You can write to the Prime Minister as well. Now, whether he reads it or no is subjective to him and his team. But you have the power to write, and that's what our democracy is. That's what Mark Your Presence always been doing, is celebrating democracy, being proud of what we are. Because very few countries, I tell you, are in a complete democracy. So we need to enjoy this. We need to put it on the forefront. We need to elaborate and say we are a democracy. We are young people. End of topic. We love all our representatives as long as you do our work. If they want to take credit for it, let them take credit for it. Very good. As long as your work is done as a young individual, I think nobody should not give credit to people. So be kind on social media. Be kind to people, and hold the correct people accountable is the advice that I could probably give you guys.
Yes. Thank you so much, Chaitanya. Just one last question. So, you've told us so much about yourself and Mark Your Presence. And we're very happy that you took out time, came and spoke to us, to educate us, to encourage us, to, register ourselves and vote. And, to just go and, get ourselves a little more involved in what is happening in the country. So, thank you so much for giving us your time and, telling us about it. So, what can we do for Mark Your Presence? How can we help?
I think every student, as I said, in their own capacity can help in the smallest way possible. What you could start off with is probably following our handles. If you guys are on Twitter, if you guys are on Twitter, put up like a show me some sign so I know. I want to know. If you're actually not on Twitter, it's completely fine. I just want to know if anybody's on Twitter. Okay, fair enough. So get
Kushagra? Okay, Kushagra and Harsh Sonthalia. Okay. Saranch. Okay.
I mean, numbers always small, so there's nothing to be ashamed of. This get on Twitter today, see how things are functioning. And why am I telling you this? Because I'm also a student. I know you are not going to go on Google and search for anything that is happening around you. Only if it's given to you will you accept it. So if you follow these people, you will be in touch with them. You will be updated. But don't believe anybody, whatever anybody says, but validate it. During the elections, always validate. Throughout the year, if anybody says anything, take the information. When it comes to voting, it's all about validation. It's all about checking the facts. And trust me, the election commission does everything. If they say they have this much money, they give their account details. If they say this, everything. So during the elections, I think we could probably be in touch. You can go on our Instagram. We have a link there. You can subscribe to our newsletter. I think I'll also send the link to you, so you could probably then be part of the circle wherein we are giving you informative information, and you can access the newsletter. The newsletter talks essentially about your representative. Essentially talks about young entrepreneurs. It talks about young people trying to create impact. So, as I had said earlier, your representative, the newsletter started because we wanted to update people about the events that are happening in your area. What it became after a while is a platform to talk about change makers. So if you know change makers, nominate them, tell us about them, and essentially subscribe to our newsletter. It's very accessible. It's on our Instagram handle. You can fill out your details, your name, your details, how old you are. After doing all that, you could be subscribed to it. Once you're subscribed to it, you will get all our newsly weekly updation, and that will keep you updated. You could also follow our Twitter handles. I think it's if you type mark your presence, it will come. Our Twitter handle is relatively new. It's not something that we are extensively doing or probably doing some active work, but you could follow us there. Stay engaged. Instagram, yes, we are really active out there of late throughout the pandemic. So you could follow us there, send us your suggestions. We could also DM us, so we could also send you a small message about how you're supposed to register other people. And if you're very, very interested to be part of an extended family of Mark Your Presence, do write to us. We would be happy to have young people from this very college and institution to be part of it. One of my closest friend, Vignesh Shanbag, is from your very own institute. He's an alumni of your college and institution, and he has also recently started a very, very good activity. So idea is that I'm always happy to talk, and removing time out for people around my age is something that has been there, and giving back to society has been there with me and my family since generation. So it is not me trying to take out time, is doing something that I love. So all the time that I've spent right now is not something that has been wasted at all, at all in any way. So I'm always happy to do these things with anybody who reaches out to me. More importantly, tell us your suggestions. Reach out to us in whatever way. Our team will always respond to DMs because I've got one person allocated for that, and I obviously have logged in, so even I take a look at what's been sent, and we'll send you a message probably that you could probably circulate to your friends and try and help us register more people, because that's our aim. And we could, if you could probably tell me in the chat box where you guys are from, which area, because I do understand that a lot of you are from Gujarat, some of you are from Mumbai, and other parts of Maharashtra. So, having said that, if you could probably tell me, just if you could write down, and I
Chat
will.
box is open. Everybody has access. You all can write down the name of your
Wonderful.
city.
So, the whole idea is that, oh, wonderful, we have people around our area. I reside at Kohli. Kandivali is where I train most of the times. I'm sure you are aware about Sports Authority Club of India and the beautiful ground that is there, touching the Times of India office or something. Gujarat, Pune, wonderful. In fact, so see, in this conversation itself, I have people from all around Maharashtra. We have somebody from Akola as well. This is wonderful. So see the connect. Right now, if I want to do something in Akola, I have a representative right here. All I have to do is have a 15-minute conversation with him, brief him on all I have said, and if he's very, very interested to help me in his capacity, he could actually help me create some change. So idea is, what we are also trying to do is trying to connect change makers, trying to create something. Oh, Talegaon, wonderful. It is a wonderful riding school in Talegaon as well. Uh,
We are actually from Talegaon, so our
yeah,
school is
yeah,
in Talegaon.
of course, of course. I'm aware about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So see, this is what I'm trying to say. Connectivity between people, when we have couple of people trying to interact, and every one of you can probably DM us, ma'am. You can also make my accessible number accessible to them. They could reach out to me personally as well,
Sure.
and we could probably, yes, absolutely, you're right. Jap is the place to learn riding for everybody, I think. Um, So I think, yeah, that's about it. So all you could do is probably spread messages, and trust me, it does not take too much time. The crafted message can be given to you. All you have to do is forward it to people. And to be honest, now the election commission has made a rule that you cannot register anybody till OTP is shared. So you don't have to register anybody anyways. Just be the messengers to spread the message, and then leave it up to people. Now see, when you spread the message, it's very important. It's not like any other broadcast. If you broadcast a message to them like an event, nobody's going to reply to it. Has to be a conversation. So if anybody is interested to learn, probably be part of a larger circle, especially people from Pune, Mumbai, obviously Mumbai is goes without saying because we have a large connection here. And if anybody wants to even remotely be a part or a representative to try and help us, we could obviously accommodate anybody from this institute without hesitation. Pune and Gujarat and other places, if anybody wants to, we are always happy to accommodate, because those are areas where we really need to extend our so-called horizon. So we are always happy if people reach out to us and we delegate some sort of fun activities, because the idea is not to work. Nobody's working for the organization. They're working for the country and the state. Essentially, they are volunteering for us for a cause. So everybody's feel free to reach out to me on an email ID that I'll send, ma'am, if there are any problems. Moreover,
Definitely.
you can easily send us a message on Instagram. I think that is the easiest way for you
Mhm.
guys to just log on to, I think, markyourpresence.org, and it will appear. We don't have some huge following that, but I mean, you could be the ones contributing to the larger chunk soon.
Sure. Thank you so much, Chaitanya. Thank you so much. Okay, so are there any questions to Chaitanya? Any questions? So I have a lot of mini questions actually here. One of them being that they really wanted to know your sports achievements. So
Correct.
they wanted to know that. Can you tell us a little more? I know again this is a little personal
Sakshi
question,
Pawar.
but
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah.
sure, sure. So I have been, I run the 400 meters and the 200 meters, and I represent the state of Maharashtra. Of course, representing Mumbai, and Mumbai city goes without saying if you're representing your state at the national level. And I have participated and won at the national level at various national events, starting from DSO going onwards to ICAC, which is the AIC National Championship, which is organized in Pune. At least was when I was, and of course in Gandhinagar as well. So the people that are from Gujarat, our very own relay where we broke the record was at Gandhinagar, a beautiful track that is there in Gandhinagar. I don't quite remember the name, whether it was the Sports Authority of India ground, but I clearly remember that it was in Gujarat, and we broke the record there. So idea is I've been into this since the ninth standard, and I've drifted from. If you talk about my athletic career, as you would say it, I've started with events like 800 and 1500, excelled at those, and slowly, gradually moved to shorter events because they take, I would say, less hard work in my perspective. But in the perspective, so it's a debate. The person that is running the larger events, I mean, who runs 1500 and 800 meters, says, no, no, you guys are doing a more difficult job. I can't even imagine running those short events. We are like, I think you are doing a difficult job because I can't imagine running for half an hour.
Mhm. All right. I have another very interesting question, Chaitanya. So we have a question which says that have you worked with, very rural areas and say tribal
I
boundaries? Like,
disappeared
have
from it.
you tried to talk about them?
Sorry, I don't know where my screen just went up, so I couldn't
Okay,
see the screen.
not a
Wonderful.
problem. Not a
Yes, sir.
problem. So I have a very interesting question here, which says, do you have any experience, or say, if you did, can you just share with us if you worked with any of these, rural areas, villages, and maybe even tribal communities? Like, have you tried to educate them, or have you tried working with them, or is it in your plan in the near future, anything like that?
Absolutely. It is on my agenda to go and talk to some people with respect to this. Not go to Gadchiroli or something of that sort, but at least go to areas wherein I could probably interact with people and probably discuss good things with them. With respect to people from all strata of societies in the cities, yes. Going on to the slums, to the chawls, to the high rises. And I have come to conclusion that the people that are living in the chawls and the slums are way more educated voters than that of people in the high-rise buildings, because they know their representatives, they know how to hold them accountable, they go and vote in an election. And we as people in the high rises don't go and vote. So I find it very funny. But again, the target audience is correct. It starts with my friends. So I've got my friends involved. Every one of you can help me to get your friends involved. And slowly the circle keeps increasing. That's why I go to every school, every college. And that's why I have the support of the election commission bodies. They don't give support to young individuals doing things in general, because this is a topic that needs to be researched a lot about, spoken about, and there needs to be a level of understanding. And I luckily have the support of not only the state election commission, also of the chief electoral officer, and also to add on of the chief electoral officer of Delhi as well. So widespread of people helping and trying to put things together for us. Yeah, but it is on my agenda to register and educate people from the so-called tribes altogether. Having talking to them in the language that they understand, because one needs to really analyze. In the city of Mumbai, I happen to have I'm a local here, so I can talk in English, I can talk in Hindi, I can talk in Marathi, I can also talk in Konkani. Gujarati is something that is difficult for. It's easy for me to understand because I went to a school called Jamnabai Nursery, which is predominantly run by a Gujarati family. But other than that, one is a local in your own state. Pune obviously wouldn't be a problem. Even Delhi, because Hindi and English works there. Idea is to do something with the tribals. I will require the correct people. Moreover, it is on my agenda since past 7 8 months. Only if this pandemic would probably not be there, I would be right now talking to every one of these individuals from some tribal village.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chaitanya. I think in the interest of time, we will just restrict our questions to this. Thank you so much for
I think,
coming.
I
Yeah.
think, I think, yeah, we had two questions. If you could take
Yeah,
these two
sure.
questions of, I think, Nityam and Singh,
Nityam and Saran Singh. Okay. Yeah.
Singh,
Yeah.
sorry.
If they are on yours, okay. I'm so sorry. I'm not able to see them.
Because I saw them raising their hands, so I said, let us
Uh-huh.
go to their questions.
All right. Okay. Saransh, why don't you unmute? Um, I think what we'll do is we will stop our live stream. Would that be okay? And then we'll take the questions.
Yeah, I'm okay either way.
Okay.
I have no problem.
All right. Okay. Saransh Baba, you are unmuted. You can ask.
Hello. Yeah. So I had two questions. First, see, I completely agree with you that one should vote. But one thing I don't like about vote, I will vote. But one thing I don't like about voting is that the none of the above which is given for the voters to vote. It uh, if 90% people vote and just 10% of people vote none of the above, then the elections will not get again. Re-elections will not happen. So if some government can change that in some perspective or something like that, because sometimes it happens that you're not satisfied with all the people who are there.
Yeah. So to answer that question, essentially, see, Nota was not something, none of the above, which was there before. It was added. Now, why was it added? It's very important for us to understand that. When you go out to vote, you get this right because you're a citizen of the country. The People's Representation Act says, and our constitution as a body that as clearly states and says that as a citizen you have a right to vote or refrain from voting. Now when there is no nota, what happens is you are technically not going to vote because the representatives are, according to you, not good enough. So there are a lot of people that said that I want to vote, but I don't like the people that are contesting in my area. So what do I do? Did you know what some people used to do? Didn't want to invalid their vote. They used to press two things together. So now you know how the election system is, right? It's like a small box with holes on it. What these to do is these to double press so that the vote is invalid. So there are a lot of people that want to go out, want to vote, but don't want to vote for any political party or person because they are like, I got this right. Why? Because I'm a citizen. I want to vote. I just don't want to vote for the people. The reason why Nota was embedded is because those people get representation. And see, that is validated by the Representation Act. That it's your right to vote or refrain from voting. So the government and the election commission in general wanted to give the rights to people to accommodate more people to try and come and be part of the whole system. And when you accommodate them, you give them representation. So there are also, it serves, Nota is one of the best things that's been put. There is one downfall that if everybody votes Nota, still there will be no election. There will be no re-election. That is, there is no power to Nota. That is one thing which is clearly understood because a Nota cannot have, you can't have a by-election or a re-election because of Nota. That's one thing that is the only sad part about Nota. But Nota sets as a strong precedent because a lot of people in a lot of areas go and opt for Nota if they don't want. So a lot of people, instead of sitting at home and saying, I don't want to go because I don't like them, they stand in the line and they go because they want to vote for Nota. Also, you understand in every area who is disappointed with the person that are standing. So political parties get a understanding that yes, okay, there were so many people that were in Nota. Do you know that there is one place, I'm sure you know, the place called Latur. Won't go into the details of the place and specification in Maharashtra. Some people were contest there, that one family or some people from a particular family contest. In one particular constituency, there were uh, 20,000 or something like that in Nota, like a large chunk. I don't know what the exact figure is. I may be wrong when I say 20,000, but it was a large chunk. I think something that could be probably checked in Latur. Nota was so large that Nota came second in ranking of the election. But of course, Nota was. I mean, it's a vote. Your validation came in. The person who won elections won. But Nota, at least people like you and me and everybody around realize that people are distressed in that place. They don't like the people that are contesting. Whoever won. But see, it sets the correct precedent. Na? Tomorrow, if you want to, as a young person, contest, you know where you can go and move muscles. Political parties know. Opposition comes to know. So Nota comes from a very deeper perspective that every individual should go out to vote irrespective of what he thinks about the representatives that are in their area. Uh, that is one very important thing. But I agree with you that Nota cannot get elections, and irrespective, even if Nota wins tomorrow, you cannot in any way have Nota win an election. It will be as front one, front two, but it will not. I think if somebody has their laptop in front, they could probably check um, which how many votes it was in Latur. But it was a large chunk. We don't have to name the representative. We could just know the count of Nota. This large chunk of, and that set the correct precedent. And I personally know of a lot of people that have voted for Nota.
Mhm.
So I think it is a extremely needed and a necessary act. But yes, the power to Nota is not yet granted because if they grant that, trust me, then election will just become a funny affair because it can go both ways, right? Today you are being a responsible citizen. Tomorrow you want to overthrow or get a re-election. You can get people to. Yes, we have the stats on the group. Look at the number. Okay, I was close. Okay, I was close. So look at that large number and imagine those many people came out opposing. So that's the power that we have, and Nota is a very good power. So don't feel shy to ever go and press the button of Nota because you personally feel that the people that who are contesting, according to you, may not be. See, the people that are vote Nota are the ones that are, I would say, the politically interested lot, because they have understood who to select. So whenever I say, how do I see who's politically aware? I check Nota, because people who are in political parties will by default vote for that party. But people who vote Nota are people who are understanding. Things are not going well. Maybe that's why it's time I show my color together. I hope that justifies your question.
So we'll take Nityam's question next. Nityam, you can unmute and ask.
I really appreciate your initiative, sir. I'm inspired that at such a young age you have held an organization of yourself. But there's one question I wanted to ask. Actually, two. You told you may have extended families, but you have only 13 under your staff. So how much have you achieved? How many voters have registered through you yet? Just wanted to know the numbers, not exact, but at an
So,
approximate.
so these So these 13 people are the people in the core team. And to add on more, there are several more who've not been added as of yet, because the website has not been updated. So that's one thing that they have been on me for a while, that, the representation has not come on the website. But for that, you can check on our Instagram. If you have your phone handy, you will find out the other
I
people.
have. I checked out your.
So during the pandemic, registration has become a real task. But we've still managed to get about 4,000 registrations in only in the pandemic. 2019 election, at the end of the election, we had approximately, I would say, 10,580 odd registrations, completely done by us, by our going to colleges, by our going to schools. We had a timer set. Now, if you can see, there is a timer on our page as well, which we, every time we go to a school and college, we reset that timer, so that we have an aggregate account as how many people go to the page to click. That's our statistics to understand. Now, after you register, there's something called a unique ID that you get. You just go, after we have that unique ID from you, only then we validate you as a registering voter. We don't validate you on the basis of your going to the site. On the site, we gain the traction. We see, we went for a seminar, 5,000 people were there, 2,000 people went on our page. Very good. But only once you send us your details. And why will you, now you might be confused of why will they send us the details? A, because we facilitate the whole process for them. B, registration is just the beginning. You need all the details to come during an election. We spoon feed every single information to every student. Moreover, what is very important and needs to be identified in the whole process is that once you register, at the end of the day, the election commission has government employees. So your form goes to a particular officer. The BLO will select your form. Then it will go to somebody else. It will get verified. They'll come to your house to verify. What I do is, once you give me your voter ID number, I call the BLO officers. I call the officers EROs, and the BLOs, and I tell them that this is so and so person. This is Nityam Agarwal, and he happens to have applied. And please make sure you do the home verification, because by law, by rules, they have to come to your house. They need to come. They need to collect the your details from you, and they need to go. So we facilitate. So it's not like a, it's like an end to end setup wherein you come to us, we register you to vote, we tell you registration is not enough, we give you informative guides, we analyze, interpret, then vote. Moreover, the process between you get to vote and you register, even the part wherein your form is not in your hands, we control that by talking to the people in charge. And if you have a problem with your voter ID, we also call people are needed who can help us. So it's a full end-to-end portal which helps every student to do everything.
Uh,
Yes, Nityam, you had a second question?
yes, ma'am. This really clarifies my doubt. The second part, it may be a little off the topic, but your motive is to make the society a little a democratic one. To be precise, you in between of this conversation, you said check your facts before you vote. In the sense, the representative you're voting, check the facts, research about it. It may go off a topic, but according to you, what are the head points, you may say, as agendas or criteria that you consider to be a proper elective or representative for a person to vote? As a young voter, um, comparative to an elder one, you see, we find doubts, we find things that are convincing to us. The things we may have a little greedy mind, in the sense, you want something from them. As you're doing you're not doing a favor by voting them. You they give you a guarantee that they'll do to you. But what is the thing that convinces you and compels you to vote to that particular representative? You may have some criteria for that. So, what a personal opinion on that?
So, just 1 second, there is a fly. Oh, this is just
Never mind, never
well,
mind.
big flies. Summer, I don't know from where they come. I'm on the 16th floor, but still they somehow find their way. Yeah, no, it's not personal at all. In fact, this is a very good question. See, at the end of the day, it's information. When I say check your facts, why did I say that? Is because there are a lot of organizations that are doing what you're saying. They are promises that are said by the MPs, MLAs, as per what they actually do.
Yes.
There are people who analyze this information. I don't want to get into the intricacies on how they do it, but there are organizations that do it. So what we do to solve your problem is during an election, everything that you're saying. See, because our whole idea is you should vote effectively. So when an election comes close, that means 4 months, 5 months before an election, then good enough time for you to get in. All these sites, all these organizations, we get them together, we get all the information that they have, and we circulate it to people. Because only if I set a criteria, there is it is not going to do good. There are organizations who set criteria, likes of Praja and all, which are situated in Mumbai,
Yes.
which when they set these criteria, they become immaterial for some people. I might say you need to be of this order. You might not have a valid education, but you still may have the zeal to do the required things. You may be the perfect, you may be the honest candidate. So then what do you do? So idea is you leave it to interpretation, you leave it to each is to own, but you give them the information. So how fact check information in the sense we have enough guides to talk about every single thing. So your representative was what? Is for exactly people like you during election. We gave them the information that was required. But we gave them the information what was accessible on the election commission site. We are not here to make the news. We are not a medium to promote anybody, but we are a medium to show you this is black and this is white. So what we did was we access all the guides with all the permission of their companies. We put them together and we send them to inform voters 7 months, 6 months before the election. So you can read everything. Anyways, these documents are 60, 70 pages. Nobody reads it. So we
Last,
can
one last thing.
summarize it. So
So, no,
so
that's right.
idea is we circulate this and we try and make people aware and leave it to their interpretation. You decide, because when we set the criteria and the criteria works for one election, everybody will have faith on us. Something we don't want people to keep us on the pedestal and be like, you guys did this and now we'll follow what you say. No, nobody is going to follow what anybody is going to say. You are your own person. You research on your own and you do it because you're doing it for yourself, not for any organization. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Chaitanya. What I'll do now is I will end the live stream and then we can take an informal conversation. So thank you so much, Chaitanya, so thank you so much on behalf of our viewers, our parents, some students who might, start streaming this later. Thank you for giving all this information to us. Thank you for inspiring us. And thank you for your time too.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.